So here's a stat for you. Tarzan is 25 years old in 2024. Like, I remember when I was a little kid popping in that clamshell VHS tape for Toy Story 2. That trailer for Tarzan would always pop up when I'd watch that movie on repeat. And then it got to a point when I was younger and I'm like, okay, I gotta check out this movie instead of just listening to Son of Man on repeat. I still listen to Son of Man on repeat. What of it? Okay, so we follow a pair of humans who are shipwrecked along with their infant son, but unfortunately a leopard comes in and mauls the parents, leaving the baby behind as an orphan. And coincidentally enough, this same leopard actually mauls the child of a pair of gorilla parents, and the mother, Goller, decides to take in the orphan, who she names Tarzan. Tarzan grows up into a man, played by Tony Goldwyn, practically surfing in the trees. When a British expedition enters the jungle, Tarzan encounters the beautiful Jane, voiced by Minnie Driver, and recognizes that, like her, he's human. Tarzan falls in love with Jane, a romance is formed, and he's torn between embracing civilization and staying with his gorilla family. Now, that inner turmoil is actually one of the most compelling parts of the movie. But there's a part of me that kind of wishes they were exploring that turmoil just a little bit more. I mean, not to dig too deep into my negatives right away, but Tarzan, let me just say, is a very fun Disney movie. I'm sure Disney fanatics back in 1999 were chomping at the bit to get to the theater to see this thing. And I can only imagine what this thing was like on the big screen. Like, seeing this guy swinging across vines, surfing through the trees, and doing all the innovative things that these animators were putting in for him. That must have been a sight. And the color palette, just all the greens that are in the background. It's such an immersive jungle experience. And thankfully, our two leading characters are actually really great. Tarzan himself is basically exactly what you would expect. He growls, he snarls, he hollers at the top of his lungs. And this guy is a physical specimen, absolutely agile for his size. But it's also super endearing to watch him as somewhat of a gentle giant, even though he's not necessarily a giant per se. He's written like one, and it's a really endearing arc to see him go through. And again, that inner turmoil is there. It's not like it's not there. I just kind of wish that the movie actually left enough room to explore a little bit more of that. Like, I wanted them to dig a little bit deeper, as opposed to one of the other things, which I'll talk about. Let's talk about Jane real quick. Minnie Driver, first of all, great voice actress here. And just point blank, Jane is my favorite character in this movie. I get it. Not all characters have to be strong. Not all female leads have to be strong. She can be saved a lot of the time. But if you want just a damsel in distress, look at the blueprint that they've set up with Jane, because Jane is such an interesting character. Like, it is okay to have characters constantly be saved. Just make them interesting. And there is so much charm to Jane, not just in Minnie Driver's voice acting, but just in her personality. She's so polite, yet she's so weird, and she's absolutely a klutz. Like, you just can't help but want to be around this person. You can see why Tarzan is instantly attracted to her. And these two form a really nice bond once Jane comes into the picture. The whole montage where Jane is teaching Tarzan about the human ways, Tarzan is teaching Jane the ways of the jungle, all set to that Phil Collins song, Strangers Like Me. It's just really fun to watch. And yeah, the Phil Collins songs, listen, I get why people might be annoyed that this is not a full-on musical version of Tarzan. You want the full musical version? Just go watch the stage show. It's the same Phil Collins songs, but the characters are actually singing it. And story-wise, these songs don't grate on my nerves as much as they do in, say, Brother Bear. You know, because the lyrics in here are just vague enough where you can sort of put it on the radio, but they still kind of link up to the story. It's a good soundtrack, and the orchestrations by Mark Mancino really add a lot to them as well. The rest of the characters you've definitely seen before. I feel like out of the side characters, Kala, voiced by Glenn Close, is the most interesting of the bunch. You also have Turk, who's voiced by Rosie O'Donnell, and yeah, she can be a bit annoying. But again, this is a quintessential Disney Renaissance sidekick. A comedic sidekick, for that matter, and she got a few laughs out of me on this rewatch. It's not like it was turn off the TV level of heat for her. You know who was, though, was Clayton. I don't think I'm giving anything away by saying this, but he is the villain here. And the motivation is just as boring as you would see in stuff like Pocahontas. It all boils down to greed. That's all it is. Clayton is basically what you would get if Gaston from Beauty and the Beast was a charisma vacuum. Like, seriously, same voice inflections, he's a hunter, he's got a chiseled jaw. The only two differences between him and Gaston is, first of all, Clayton's got a killer mustache. And the other difference is, unlike Gaston, Clayton is dull as a rock. And I'm sorry, just anytime he speaks, anytime he's on screen, it just bores the heck out of me. Like, I have seen this villain before. With how much inventive that went into Tarzan, how come this villain was so cookie cutter? So yeah, that part was a little bit frustrating for me. And all the other characters, I like Kerchak quite a bit. Kerchak does have a pretty interesting arc in here. Jane's father is very lovably stupid, just like Maurice was in Beauty and the Beast. Speaking of Beauty and the Beast, I also do appreciate the Easter egg where you see Mrs. Potts and Chip in inanimate form. I actually do think that's really clever. So even though Tarzan isn't among my favorite Disney animated movies, it's still a chock full of fun. It's unique, it's colorful, it's energetic, it's got characters that you absolutely want to root for, with not to mention a really fun soundtrack from Phil Collins that I will listen to on the regular. Again, Son of Man gets in my head, You'll Be in My Heart will bring me to tears. And yeah, people can think Phil Collins is annoying when he interjects himself into the story, but I think the songs are good. Solid standard fare as you would expect for a movie to come out of the Disney Renaissance. I'm gonna give Tarzan a B+. Yeah, if you guys haven't revisited this one in a bit, I'd recommend giving it another look. Let me know what you think of Tarzan down in the comments section below. Let me know what your favorite Phil Collins song is, and let me know what your favorite Disney Renaissance movie is. There's a lot that we can discuss over here, and then some over here on the regular. If you've stumbled across this channel for the first time, do consider subscribing today. Tap on that thumbs up as well if you haven't already. Stay tuned for more videos very soon. I'm looking forward to catching both Blink Twice and the remake of The Crow this weekend. All that and much, much more to come, guys. In addition to a great retrospective review of Pulp Fiction that I just finished recording over this past weekend. Lots of fun coming in the pipeline, and you guys don't want to miss it. Y'all are the best. Thank you again for tuning in. And with all that being said, Back Talk, commence.